Raise your hand if you have ever done this one thing. You have gone out to Google and you've taken an image to use for a blog post, a website, a social media post, anywhere, and you thought it was okay. I'm raising my hand right now, and I bet you are too, because I think almost everyone has done this once. Well, this episode is going to talk all about stock images and what you need to know about licenses, and why you just can't go out to google.com and take any image you see. So let's dive in with my good friend Melissa LeMay, the graphic maven, aka the Canva Ninja. Episode 92 starts right now. Hey there, welcome to the Lora Shipman Show. We hang out here weekly to talk about things like social media, entrepreneurship, marketing, tools, strategies, tips, and it all starts right now. Hey there, before we get started with the show, I just want to share my passion with you. I love teaching people just like you how to master social media for business, breaking it down into easy to consume and easy to execute steps so that you can see immediate results. So whether you want to start a social media consultancy or grow your brand's presence on social media, I can help. I can help you get started and master all the things that you need to know. So I want you to go over to my website. It is filled with resources, tools, tips, and courses. Visit lorashipman.com. That's LORA shipman.com to get all the goods. Now, you ready for the show? I know I am. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so excited because I have my friend Melissa LeMay here, who is the graphic maven on Instagram. And I'm excited she's here because she might scare us, but for a good reason. And I want her to scare us. I want you guys to listen. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me again.
I'm so excited you're back for another interview. This is cool. And I love this topic. But before we get into the topic, just in case we have new listeners from the last time, let everybody know who you are, what you do, all that good stuff.
Yes, of course. So, you already introduced me. My name is Melissa, and I am the owner of Graphic Maven. I specialize in graphic creation while using the software Canva. Most people know what Canva is. And basically, I create either templates or branded graphics for my clients.
Very cool. Very cool. So today, the topic that I'm really excited about that we're talking about is all about images, where we get them from, the different types of licensing that you need to be aware of so that you're not breaking the law. Now, I'm going to be honest and very transparent. Before I knew any of this, about any of this, I paid a tuition, I like to call it, because I did some things wrong when it came to this department. So tell us, going forward, just a lot of us do this. I think we grab images off of Google, maybe Pinterest, maybe different social media platforms, and we just use them for what we're doing. Is that a good thing to do? Can we just go out on the internet, find that perfect image that suits our caption, whatever it is, and be fine with it? Is that good?
I wish I could say yes, but no, this is so wrong. And this might be the part where I'm going to scare everyone. But don't do this, okay? Any images found on the internet is actually the property of someone else. It's actually illegal to use or take any images or pictures or whatever you want to call them that you find online. So it's not just Google or Pinterest. Like if you go to a website or even on Facebook, let's say, for some reason, we're doing this podcast together and you wanted a picture of me to use for your to promote this podcast. Technically, if you take my image without asking me, this is illegal. And I see this happening all the time. People will feature someone on their Instagram or on Facebook or anything like that, and they just take the picture, whatever picture they can find online of that person. That's actually illegal. This is private property, and you cannot just take a picture of someone or something without asking permission.
Okay, go ahead. Were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to share an example. Like my kids in school, sometimes they do presentation, and this drives me absolutely insane. They'll come home and then they're creating this presentation, and I look over and they took pictures first of all, they either screenshot it or took like really crappy images from the internet. This is so wrong. And then they tell me, well, the teacher said it was fine. He said to just go and look on Google and take images. And then I'm like, you guys, you cannot do this. This is illegal. And you guys need to, like, they need to tell to their teachers because people just don't know, right? So, and you don't know what you don't know. So I try to educate my kids to educate their friends at school and teachers because you cannot do this.
So what's the worst that can happen when you do this? Say you take somebody's image online, and you use it for your own purposes. What's the worst thing that can happen to you for doing that?
Well, the worst thing that can happen is you get fined or you get sued. And it can go into, like, if you get sued, it could be like a few $1,000s, I believe. Like, I've seen cases where it was between 25 and 50 grand, just depending on what kind of images that you took, right? Of course, that's like the worst case scenario. But let's say someone was to use an image without your consentment or your permission, then you could always reach out to that person and ask them to remove or stop using your image. That would be the very first step if someone stole your images. But yeah.
Okay, so just complete transparency here. Back in my infancy, when I started my business many moons ago, I actually did that. I took an image which I thought was harmless. It was just a roach, like a cockroach, and I was using it for a blog post, and did not know the person who I took that from was actually a photographer, like a wildlife photographer. And it was the only decent picture of a cockroach that I could find. Well, now I know why, because then I received a cease and desist letter. I needed to hire an attorney, and she needed to fix it for me so that he could not come back for future damages. So that whole ordeal probably cost me about $2,000 to fix and make go away.
Cockroach. Oh my
for
God.
a cockroach. So this is a real thing. Like, you're not just saying don't do this because it's bad and you're going to hurt someone's feelings. Like, you're saying this because this is real. And you said like up to 50 grand, some people can get sued for.
Yeah, exactly. And then, well, I'm saying up to, I'm sure it could be worse than that. Like, let's say that's the most that I've seen, like what I've read on. But like in your example, like you said, it was a wildlife photographer. Well, this person does that for a living. So if your images, that person needs to be paid for their work, right? And yes, you probably found that picture on Google or Pinterest, but it doesn't mean that because it's on the internet that it's available to anyone to use or for anyone to use.
So here's a question, and I don't know if you know the answer to it or not, but I'm going to just throw it out there because I think it doesn't just affect working on Instagram and Facebook and posting things out there. The same goes true for your website. Like, if you have a web designer who is designing your website, do you have any guidelines or any tips that we should ask that web designer to say, hey, what happens? Where are you getting your images from? And what happens if you use something wrong? Who's responsible? Who's liable for that fee? You know what I mean? Like, what can we do to protect ourselves?
So first of all, you should probably look over the contract, like whenever you're hiring a web designer, I would look over the contract and see. Now, not every web designer will provide the images. And to be honest, now that I know all this, I always go over. I either choose my own images or I ask for the reference, like where did they take those pictures? So if you're hiring someone and they provide the images, I would definitely check with them to see what kind of licenses they have. Like for me, I'm a member of a stock photography library, and actually I'm a member of two, and then one of them I can only use for myself. I cannot use for my clients or anything like that. But then the other library I can use for myself and my clients. But my clients cannot use those images to redistribute to their clients. So it stops there, right? So it's really, really important to know, I guess, the licensing and all that before you start using images. Makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So just to follow along here, so like there's different tiers or different lengths that you can go to use these images. So Melissa's part of two stock photography libraries. One only allows them to just use for your own purposes, for your own single business. Then
That's right.
the other library allows you to use it for your own business plus one client, and that's it. Plus a client, and it stops at that client. That client can't take that picture and reuse it somewhere else outside of their original purposes. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So that's okay. So I'm glad we went there about stock photography libraries. Tell us exactly what a stock photography library is, or something that you join. Tell us what that looks like and why we would want to do something like that.
Okay, so stock photography can be really good. Well, you have created images, easy to find, and if you're a member, usually it's just easy because the licensing, and you always go back to the same photographer, right? So there's no, I guess, if you were to use like a free stock image website, then you got to check every time. Like each images might have a different license, so you got to make sure it. And it can be time consuming to double check the license for every images that you're downloading. As if you have a subscription, then it's always the same photographer. You're aware of the licenses, how you can use them. If you're allowed to edit them, or if you're allowed to use them for more than 500 impressions or anything like that. So, you already know the guidelines, so it's easy that way. And of course, you always get the same style. Usually a photographer has a style when they create those images. So it's, you have easy access to consistency in image, like image-wise.
Okay, so you mentioned two really good things that I just want to make sure we highlight. The first thing you mentioned is whether or not you're allowed to edit an image. So I'm just assuming here you download from your stock photography an image, but they might have certain parameters on that saying it has to be used in its original form, like you can't put a filter over it or you can't crop it. Is that what you mean by edit?
That's exactly what I mean. Yep. So some images you can use any way you want, and those are the easiest ones. But yeah, there are some that you cannot crop. Like let's say you like an image, it's a flower with a hand, and you want to remove the hand or whatever, or you want to put a filter on it, then you can't. So you might not want to use or download that image. So it's good to know if you're allowed to do that.
Okay. And then the other thing that I thought was interesting was how many impressions. Explain that to us. What does that mean?
Okay. So let's say there's a limit. So, when you're looking at the different licenses, you might see where it says, good up to 500 or 1,000 impressions, for example. So if you need more than 500 or 1,000 impressions, then you would probably need to buy the commercial license. That means, what is an impression? So let's say, I don't know, you want an image for an ebook that you're writing, okay? And the max is 500 impressions. So that means 500 people can see or download or buy your ebook. As soon as you hit 501, you need to start paying for that image.
Okay, so that's interesting. How is that trackable?
I'm not sure exactly how.
Okay.
But let's say if you were to use that image on your website and you can only use it 500 times, that means you can only get 500 visits. So obviously you wouldn't be using that image on your website. But let's say you want to use it for just like business cards, and you're allowed to up to 1,000 impressions, and you're only printing like 500 or whatever, then you would be fine. So I think it's more like that. So if you're printing, or if you're using on social medias, or if you're using on your website and stuff like that. So just be aware of the number of impressions.
Okay, so tell us, is there a way that we can get free images? like, are there places that we can go to, or do we need to hire a photographer each and every time, take our own and join stock photography groups? Like, what can we, are there any free options?
Oh, there's plenty of free stock images sites that you can use for your business. One of my favorite is Pixels, and I can share with you all the links that you can share with your audience afterwards. But Pixels is one of my favorite because it's super easy. They have tons of great images, and their license it's the same for all the other images. So whatever you find on there, it's easy. It's all the same license. So you can use all photos for free for commercial and non-commercial purposes, which is great. Giving credits to the photographer or pixel is not required, but appreciated. And sorry, I'm just reading the big lines to you guys. And you can edit and adapt the photos as you like. So this is a good one to use.
Do you have any other ones out there that you use? Yeah.
Canva, of course, they have a bunch of images that you can choose from. And the other one that I use is Unsplash. And Pixabay is also another one. I'm not very familiar with the last two because I mostly use my memberships and Pixels.
Okay, so tell us about the memberships a little bit. Like, where do you find them, and do you recommend any good ones to go to? Like, where should someone look? And actually, also, what kind of an investment is it to join one of those types of libraries that you were talking about before?
Well, the investment is really it can vary depending on the photographer, right? So some have like a yearly membership, some have monthly, some have like quarterly. So it really depends on what you're looking for. And I would probably recommend that you look into a few different ones, and that you look if you actually like the style of the photographer. Because obviously, if you like only half of their images, maybe it's not the right membership for you. The one that I'm part of, as I was mentioning, I'm part of two different membership. One is Ivory Mix, and this one is extremely flexible. That's the one that I can use for myself and my clients. She provides hundreds of images monthly. Like, it's just insane. And it's absolutely affordable. I'm actually not sure why she's not charging more, because I've never seen a stock photography membership this flexible and so affordable. So this, and I can share the link with you as well. I have an affiliate link.
Okay.
I can share if you're interested in sharing that. And then the other one that I'm using, or that I'm going to start using, because this is new from a few days ago, is called Tide and Tree. And this lady is in the UK, and she has a very different style in photography. It's more like rustic and moody.
Oh.
And it's very interesting. And I also have a 20% off discount code if you guys were ever to decide to go with that membership. So I can share that with you guys as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to, I feel like I'm missing one of your questions.
Oh, no, I think you're good. I was just curious. So let's go back to a little bit about using somebody else's photos in attribution and crediting the person. So is that a way to avoid the fines and being sued if you go that route when using somebody else's image?
A lot of people think so. They think that it can just take an image on Pinterest and then tag Pinterest. But you know what? The images doesn't belong to Pinterest. And same with Google. Google doesn't own any of their images. Anything that you use Google search, Google doesn't own that. So it doesn't do anything for you to tag Google or Pinterest when you're using an image like that. Same goes if, let's say, I'm to use one of your graphic and I tag you. Technically, this is not legal either, because I didn't ask your permission. I'm basically just using it and then, tagging you in it. But it doesn't it doesn't, it's not legal. And then the other thing too is, let's say someone uses a picture on my Instagram feed. So let's say I post something, you really like the image, and this image is not mine. It's an image that I took from my membership library, let's say. So you take this image and you tag me in it, but technically you're crediting me, but the credit goes to the actual photographer. So you're not even crediting the right person. So again, you need to ask permission. And if this happened to me before, I had someone who reached out to me and said, "Oh, I really like this image. Can I use it for my feed?" And unfortunately, I had to say no because it was not even my image. So to make this really short and simple, taking a picture and just tagging or giving the credit to the person is technically not legal.
Wow, that I can see how this can go down a huge like bunny trail of confusion and stuff. People think they're doing the right thing by crediting the person who posted it. But like you say, you posted a picture that you signed up for certain licensing and it was only supposed to go as far as you. And then so the person that you purchased or used that image from, the original creator of that could actually sue the person who copied it off of your Instagram feed. Because I'm
assuming so, but I think, it's just easy. It's just easier to really do your research before you do anything like that, because you never know.
You don't know, and
years down the road, also, right? You could be using this image for I don't know how many years, and then this person finds out later on, and I think that's where it can be very damaging.
Definitely. So, I mean, these are kind of scary things to talk about, but it's reality, especially in the digital world that we're living right now. We need to be aware of all of this stuff. So let's go, is there anything else we need to know about paid images? Let's say you go to, is it iStock or something like that, or stockphoto.com, or I don't know what the names of those are, but is there anything that we need to know a little bit more about when we make that purchase that you would recommend us looking into?
Always look at the licenses, and as it sounds time consuming, but it's way better to know how you can use them right away than finding out later on when you receive that cease and desist letter, right? So just double check the licensing, and if you're not sure, ask questions. Like most websites, you can either contact or they have a fact or somewhere where you can actually look into the licenses without making it super complicated, because most of the licenses sometimes are really long and it can be very confusing. And then some places they will make it very easy for you to understand, and I guess describe it in our words instead of the legal words.
Yeah, there you go. I know when I did have to fix my little roach image picture, my lawyer said just use this as tuition, but then she also said every time you take an image that you think, make sure you take a screenshot or something of that license and then put it in a file with that image somewhere on your computer, so that if anybody ever comes back to you, you can show, well, this is the license I used, this is how I used it. And then, that's protection for you. And again, it's time consuming, but it's better to just CYA a little bit instead of, paying the price down the road.
That's a good idea. I've never actually thought of that, but that's a good idea, especially if you're using a lot of free images. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, an easy way to do that, to store that, is on Google Drive or something like that. And you can just copy and paste the image right into a Google Doc and then copy and paste the license right under it. And so it's just right there. And you always have access to it. Wow.
Yeah, we use so many images, right? It can be easy to lose track where you got those images from.
It really can. And that's why it's always good to be, social media is also, they want you to be more authentic these days and stuff like that, and be more branded towards you. and, explore getting your own photographer, explore these stock photo sites. And we'll leave some links so that people have options and places to go. But is there anything else that we need to know that we didn't cover when it comes to using stock photos or photography for social media or even your website?
No, I think we covered pretty much all the basic, all the scary stuff we covered. But for sure, if you guys have any questions or if I missed anything that you really wanted to know, then you guys can reach out to me.
Cool. Now you have something for your audience that you're going to be putting together for us in a video format, I believe.
Yeah, I can definitely put together a video tutorial on how to use, the same stock image, but multiple times. Now, of course, I'm going to share that in the video, but you want to make sure that when you're cropping an image, that you're allowed to do so before you start doing that. And because, stock images can be very pricey. So I can, sometimes my clients are like, oh, well, I like this image, but, I'm paying $100 for this one image. How can I repurpose this one? So I want to show you that if, your budget only allows you to buy 1 or 2 images, how you can, crop it so you can reuse the same image in different ways.
That's awesome. So it looks different every time. That's awesome. Well, Melissa, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing all of this valuable information. It's stuff that we need to be aware of. It's stuff that we need to pay attention to. Where can people find you online? How can they connect with you?
Well, I like to hang out on Instagram a lot. So you guys can find me at graphic.maven, or another place where I like to hang out a lot is my Facebook group. It's free to join. It's called Canva Ninjas. And I usually share a whole bunch of cool tips in there as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us here today. It was great.
Thanks for having me.
Hey there, I just want to say thank you for spending time with me here today. I know your time is super valuable, which is why I am dedicated to providing lots of usable, actionable information in the shortest amount of time possible. Before you go, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. And if you have ideas or topics you would like me to cover in an upcoming show, let me know about it in the comment section provided.